It's not every day that I can do a really big unboxing video, but there's a few animals that I knew were coming in just on their own, individual days, that I still wanted to show off. And you might be surprised that I'm really excited about this one in particular, because it's a weird one for me to look forward to. And there's all these crazy animals coming in, the fact that it's this one. So this one is coming from California. How is this knife so dull? I never use it for anything else. And if you're wondering why the box is sideways, it was delivered like this, and I figured I wouldn't flip the snake again. Like many animals, this one is coming from either a high school or college student, I'm not sure, but they're a full-time student whose mom recently lost their job right after she got the snake. And so she had to start work herself to help support, and just didn't feel like she was giving enough time to the animal. I think I sent too big of a bag. She said she was still caring for it well and stuff and still had the money for it. She just thought that it should get more time. And it's definitely up to opinion over how much time a snake needs, if it needs none or like constant attention. But first, let's just see it. There's snake shed in the bag. I guess it's shed on the way. It's literally just an albino, juvenile, California kingsnake. If you want one, you can find one. They're not expensive, they're not rare, they're very frequently bred. And overall, it's nothing special, but a lot of times animals I truly find to be special aren't actually rare or that unique. I think one of the reasons is because when I was getting into reptiles, I always loved going to reptile expos and just seeing all the stuff the breeders had on the table. And something that always caught my eye was the little king snakes. I had seen corn snakes before. I've even seen them, I'm in North Carolina and they're native here. California king snakes, although we have eastern king snakes, these are like the cousin from the west coast. I guess it's actually coming from a state that they're native. It's very unlikely this one's wild caught since it's albino. Like, you're not, they do exist albino in the wild, but it's gonna be a lot easier to find a captive one. And every time I'd go to an expo as a kid, I'd have a little money I saved up, and I would have a list of things that maybe I would pick up. I'd always just get one animal at a time if I happened to see it. And a California king was always on the list, but never quite at the top. At one point it was a ball python, at one point it was a blue-tongued skink, just all these other little things that also were pretty similar in regards to they're not too hard to find, pretty easy to care for and stuff, but the Cali king just never quite happened. And now that I have gotten many of them before, but I had never actually gotten to get an albino California kingsnake and be hands-on with it. Personally, I have always been pretty interested in like just basic albino animals, no additional morphs or genes, literally just albinism. And usually because I really like the color yellow, I think it looks really cool in animals. But the kingsnake, it has like a pastel yellowish on the belly, and of course on the stripes on the back, but it's like the most pink snake I've kind of ever seen. And not just that, but the fact that it's a pink snake that is pretty easy to find, I think is pretty crazy. It's not exactly translucent, but the pink areas, they're less opaque than the yellow. Like you can almost you can see the shadows of the organs and stuff, which is kind of just always cool with an animal. And then of course there's the face. California kings, they are very similar to corn snakes and milk snakes, which are within like the king snake family. And the head, I would say, is the easiest way to tell a king snake is a king. Because it's got a pretty unique shape, and like each scale on the top of the head has a pretty interesting and different shape, and the head has totally different pattern in regards to the scale shape than the body, because of course patterns differ on all sorts of animals. Like say a leopard gecko, the tail is always going to be very different from the body. Not always, but generally speaking. But a king snake, it's actually the scales themselves are very differently shaped and not just the pattern, which I think is kind of neat. They're very soft, like many juvenile snakes. The scales are going to be so small that your finger doesn't really feel the difference. It's almost like a worm that's dried out, but like not crusty. That's not a great comparison. Do you get what I'm saying? But a little more on the specific one. Its name is Honey Senpai. Okay, cool. And he's, I think, 8 months old, they said. That was their estimation. He's very chill. And king snakes, I usually use the website Morph Market. I don't actually sell on Morph Market, and I really never buy from there. But after all, it is called Morph Market, and it's a pretty good way to see the market of reptiles in general. And right now, there's only a few hundred California king snakes, but a few thousand corn snakes. And king snakes in general, there's just not that many on there. And I still don't really get why, because I have always found just the king snakes to be a little more interesting. but that might just be because they are a little bit less common than the corn. It might even be just a kind of a snowball effect of more people just so happened out of coincidence kept corn snakes earlier on, and then their like friends or mutual people that see their corn snake is like, oh cool, I want a corn snake too, and they actually get a corn snake when maybe just fewer happen to keep king snakes at first. I really don't know. I did a quick few Google searches of like when they were each first kept, but it's kind of unclear. So if you know about that, let me know in the comments because I'm curious. There's definitely a few other things that stand out with king snakes to me. They're called king snakes because they can, like, they oftentimes eat other snakes, and so they're kind of seen as the top because they won't just eat rodents, they'll eat kind of everything that fits in their mouth, including other snakes. So if you paired it with a corn snake, it's very likely it would try and eat it. It can also eat venomous snakes, which is just kind of cool. I don't plan on doing that while Honey Senpai is here, but at least the option is there if I happen to run out of rodents, I guess. And with any of the reptiles that come here, it's always unfortunate seeing people that feel pretty forced to rehome the animal, but it's a bittersweet thing because he can be helped out here and he was cared for very well. Sometimes people really try and force it and push to where they should not be keeping him anymore or keeping their animal anymore, and it ends up technically being neglected. Maybe it loses weight because they don't even have time to feed it, or they forget to do the little things like replace the water and clean the enclosure out because they have so much else going on. It's always relieving to know that people really care about the animals to the extent that they take steps before anything serious happens. And I'm confident that it'll be easy to find someone else for him. I know there's already going to be comments. Some of you have probably already written comments saying that I should keep him and stuff. There's nothing, I don't feel like I shouldn't keep them. If I really wanted to, I certainly would, but I really personally get the most joy in not permanently keeping the animals, but just getting to do the whole experience with them, unboxing them, seeing the first impressions of it, getting to, if I want to, handle it a couple times. I could even keep it around as long as I want. There's nothing stopping me. Technically, it is my snake for this temporary period of time, but ultimately I find the most joy in getting to work with them, doing videos on them, and then finding them a new home and shipping them off to someone else that I know is going to be responsible and enjoy the snake. Arguably even more than me, since most people that buy have a lot fewer animals and can give a lot more one-on-one time. And in regards to the whole timing thing, the person was rehoming because they felt they didn't have enough time to give them enrichment. A lot of people say, well, they don't need enrichment at all, which I agree. They do not need the enrichment to be super happy or super healthy. But especially as a juvenile, if it grows to an adult and isn't handled very often and stuff, it can become a lot more defensive. In many cases, that doesn't happen at all, and I've picked up animals that are 10 years old and don't show any signs of being defensive. But with certain snakes, there have even been some colubrids that have never really been touched in like years and don't get handled. And so basically, if an animal is kept in captivity, no, it does not need that one-on-one time. But overall, I'd argue that it's going to experience a lot less stress throughout its life if you do get it used to handling. So if it continues to be handled from here, if stuff is being messed with in the enclosure, if he's being fed, if someone even just walks by, he's not going to get that instinctual stressful response because he's not used to people, and he'll just be overall used to it. Yeah, kind of like just an anxiety of sorts. It's almost exposure therapy, I guess. But at the same time, it does no harm to handle him. But I just wanted to feature a little animal that I was really looking forward to, even though it's a pretty random one for me too. So that's it for this video. I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.